Hello and welcome to Behind the Bearcat. This is the podcast where the Northwest Missouri State University Career Services Office chats with Northwest faculty, staff, students, alumni, and friends to hear about their career journeys, how they got to where they are, and how they became Bearcats. I'm Career Services Assistant Director Travis Klein.
And I'm Hannah Christian, the Director of Career Services here at Northwest. And today's guest on our show is
Kelli Wilmes. I am the DPD director of our Foods and Nutrition program, and I'm a registered and licensed dietitian also.
Okay, what does
Welcome.
DPT director mean? I'll just jump in there. Welcome, Kelli.
So, DPD is a
DPD.
fun little acronym for Didactic Program and Dietetics. So, we actually have DPD programs and we have coordinated programs or CP programs. That would be like MU. And the difference is a didactic program is basically you go through and get your bachelor's, you get what's called a verification statement. And then once you do that, you are able to go on and do your master's and apply for an internship. And then upon the completion of that, you can sit for the RD exam to become a dietitian. So it has you get the undergrad and then you do the internship and the master's, where coordinated kind of puts it all together. So you're doing the internship at the same time as doing like your undergrad and master's.
That's a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think out of all of our programs at Northwest, dietetics is the one that, when I hear about what students have to do, they have to get the stuff here like anything else, but then there's so much extra they have to do. It's like, oh, those students have journey's not over when you get that diploma and you shake hands with the president at graduation. Like, you got more stuff to do.
Right. And then you get to keep it up because you have to do 75 continuing education units every 5 years. And you never want to take the exam again. So you make darn sure you do that.
All right. So tell us, Kelli, how did you find yourself in this DPD director at Northwest position? Just tell us the
So,
story, a long and intriguing
story.
story.
Well, I'm from the area. I'm from the metropolis of Elmo. I know lots of people from there. But grew up around here, but then I didn't actually go to school at Northwest. I went to Missouri State University in Springfield and did my undergrad there and then went to Texas and did my master's and my internship. And then I had twins. And so that was fun. And I realized maybe I should start getting back towards home. So worked in Jeff City for a while, and then I actually made it back here to the area and was working here in town. And then I was asked to apply here to be an instructor at that time. So I did that. I actually did that for 8 years, and then I left for a little bit, and then this job opportunity came open last fall. So I decided to come back.
Take me back to your bachelor's degree. Is it in dietetics?
hmm Yeah.
So, what made you choose that path?
So I actually had no idea what dietetics was. I was reading in their course catalog. I wanted to be a physical therapist. That's what I actually went down there to be an athletic trainer. I got down there and realized that I intended to leave you bleeding on the field if that's where you were. That was not my calling. So then I wanted to be a physical therapist. I went to talk to the PT program and they said the absolute best degree you can get is dietetics. And I thought, I don't know what that is, but I like food. So seems like a great thing to check into. So their dietetics program was through their biomedical sciences program. So when you got out of there, you only had to take like 2 or 3 more classes if you wanted to go into pre-med or if you wanted to go into physical therapy. So I went ahead and got into that. And then as I got into my classes and stuff, I was like, I really like this and I don't really want to go on and do PT school. So I stuck with it and became a dietitian.
And for those that don't know, what does a dietitian do? I think you have we all, I think, have kind of the generalized idea of someone that, plans out meals and maybe like a personal chef or something like that. But what does a dietetic actually typically do? Or is there a typical do?
Well, a dietitian can do oh so many things, and I think that's why I like the career. It's because like I've worked in a hospital, so very first job I took, I worked in the ICU at Baylor Grapevine, and I would see patients who couldn't eat at all. So I was writing their tube feeds and their TPNs and those type of things. And then I worked on other floors where I did a lot of education. And so I would talk to them about different diets that would help whatever condition they had. I've also worked diabetes. So then I've done like diabetes, like one-on-one counseling. And then I've also done classes. And so you get to provide all kinds of education. When I worked for Extension, I went out and did community education to everyone. I mean, from baby to 100 years old. It didn't matter. And you did everything from food science, food safety, strength training, diabetes, heart healthy diet. You do cooking classes, just education. I did make menus for daycare programs and just all kinds of stuff. So you can do so many different things. We have a few of our alumni that work in like sports nutrition. So one works for the Army as a dietitian. We have one that just finished up her first year as a dietitian for the Phoenix Mercury and Phoenix Suns. We have another one that works with the minor league Mets team. So you there's just so many different things that you can do with it. And I think that's what makes it a really fun career, honestly.
Probably a lot of
Everyone
science in
has
that,
to
I would
eat.
bet too.
Yes, it is. And that's what a lot of people will be like, I eat, so clearly I know about nutrition. And that's not it. Our students take a lot of science courses, and it is, science-based information that we try to put out to the public. That's what we really try to focus on is the evidence. You have a lot of people that say, well, I'm a nutritionist, and actually a nutritionist means absolutely nothing. Anyone can be a nutritionist, so that's why we really try to push for, a registered dietitian because we do have the schooling, the education. We are considered an expert because we have taken a whole lot of science and other classes.
So one of my favorite things that the department does that went away for a little bit and came back this year is the dinners that you do for it, where you highlight different countries. Can you talk about that event and kind of what it's for and kind of how it works?
Yeah, so our Friday night cafe is with our quantity foods preparation. And it's the whole part of teaching our dietetic students how to prepare food for a large number of people and what all that requires. We use it. They learn more about food safety, about food service management, and then the actual, management of a production system in food service. In addition to that, there's some like when I went to school at Missouri State, we did a class and it was just food and culture. So we learned about all the different cultures and the different foods associated with different countries and races and ethnicities and all those type of things. We don't have a class like that here, so we try to embed that information in other classes. So in this class, they also have to focus on a different culture. So they have to research, write a paper, and really explore that country or that culture, and give that experience to people who come to our meal. So not only are they practicing the quantity food prep, but we're also putting the cultural aspect into it. And they go all out with decorations and the food and the menu and the descriptions and all of those type of things.
Yeah, there's such great events. Like my wife and I have gone to several of them. We try not to miss them, in fact, because they're such a
Yeah.
highlight of our fall every year. And I think that's one of those hidden gems of Northwest. Like when I'm talking to someone who's thinking about working at Northwest, that's one of the things I'll mention is, they do Friday night cafes where you can, the dietetic students put on a dinner highlighting a different culture. And it's just such a cool part of this community that I'm so glad that it's something that gets to do it. So glad that it's back. And I've never had a bad meal. They're always fantastic, and the students are very excited. So it's really cool. There
What
wasn't a
are some of
question in
the
there.
other
So
classes? Oh, and what are some of the other classes that you teach?
So I teach food science. So that's where we teach them okay. So at our university it's a little bit of food preparation and food science. So when they come in they maybe haven't had a lot of experience with food preparation. So we talk about the basics and then we also add the scientific part of it. So if I add, more sugar to a recipe, what happens? If I do this to an egg, what happens to the protein? And we go through and we do that in each of our units along with the food preparation. So in each lesson, we have them work on the scientific part of it. So they'll have like experiments that they have to do, and then at the end they prepare a food. So that's it's really fun to see how they progress through it. And then a lot of times they'll send me pictures of things that they've made afterwards because they're really proud of themselves. So I enjoy that. I also teach lifespan nutrition. So we talk about what you need at every single life stage from preconception to the elderly, and we talk about different conditions and requirements and things like that. I also teach counseling, so that's to our senior level students where we talk about how you actually counsel a patient on following a healthy diet or on a condition or things like that. What else do I teach? Community nutrition. So community nutrition, we go out and actually work with community partners and providing diet education. We talk about nutrition policy and how we come up with our national guidelines and all of those type of things. Um, I teach nutrition and diet behavior. So that's a class I taught when I was here before. And it's just your basic nutrition. So I love it just because it's not just dietetic students. We get all kinds of different majors in there, and it's just the basics of nutrition. So those are some of the classes I teach. When I was here before, I did all of the medical nutrition therapy classes, which I love. And that's actually going through different conditions and how would you treat them and how can a dietitian help and those type of things. So I've actually taught all of the classes except for one at some point, either when I was here before or now.
What's the one class you haven't taught?
Micronutrients. I taught macronutrients one time, but those are the two classes that I haven't taught much. So
What advice would you have for students maybe who are thinking about something in food and nutrition and maybe they're not exactly set on what they want to do, as someone who's been through it now who helps other students, what advice would you give them?
I would say that if they're interested at all, that come talk. Come talk to some of us up here or send an email. We have student ambassadors that are more than happy to talk to students. I have two student workers and I have a GA who's actually a dietitian, and we would love to tell you about the program. There's so many different things that you can do with it. And I think a lot of times that's what people, they don't understand. What dietetics is and what all we can do and all the different places you can work. You have a lot of dietitians who actually have, they may work PRN at several different places. We have some that they may edit articles or they may write for a company, or they may do consulting, that they can have all kinds of different jobs as a dietitian. And so come talk and learn more about it. I think that's the biggest thing. It always helps if you actually get in and talk to someone who's done it before. The other thing is that, if you're thinking about it, kind of look through some of the classes. Like we have people who transfer in and they think, well, they don't quite understand, I guess, all the classes that they need to take. So it's like if you're considering something like that, look into the courses. We are an accredited program. Any other program that is accredited, we all have to jump through the same hoops. So we have different ways of doing it, but to be honest, we all have to meet those requirements. And so, what I'm always trying to say is like, it doesn't matter where you go, you're still going to have to take these kind of classes. So prepare yourself for that. Look into it. If it's, don't avoid science classes. You're going to have to take them at some point, those type of things. So, and we also have a degree here that doesn't go the dietitian route. And that's the other thing is I try to tell students that it's like, we have people who get a degree in foods and nutrition and they don't want to be a dietitian, but they want to work in a gym. Well, you can be very knowledgeable about foods and nutrition, and that can really help with that career. Or we have some that want to go into corporate wellness, something along those lines. And if they have that background of foods and nutrition, that can really help make them successful in those fields. So you don't have to just be a dietitian. There are all kinds of things you can do. I mean, I went into it to be in physical therapy. I didn't go into it to be a dietitian. It's just where I landed. So.
And now you're teaching
And now I'm teaching, which I said I would never be a
and
teacher.
directing.
I was like, "No, I'm not gonna be a teacher." My grandmother was a teacher, my sisters were all teachers, I wasn't gonna be a teacher. I'm a teacher.
I would imagine that community ed that you had to do in a previous job probably was really good prep for what teaching at a college is. If you have to go and talk to a wide range of people about
Right,
all kinds of topics, that's probably very similar to your classroom, or you never know what you're going to run into.
right. I was gonna say, I never knew what I was gonna get. Like, I did enjoy one time they asked me to come and talk about food safety and canning. They wanted me to cover canning, and I got there and it was to a homeless population, and I was like, they don't have anything to can or a place to can. So it quickly went from, what they had told me. I was like, okay, we're going to have to totally fly by the seat of our pants and try to find something to connect with this group of like 80 people who are homeless because this is not appropriate. So,
Excellent. All right. Well, anything else that people should know about dietetics? I think one of the things maybe students also don't realize is you do your classes here in the admin building. So you're the one academic area that you're not in another academic building. You're upstairs in admin. So, if students are like, "Oh, dietetics, where do they do those classes?" Like that's why it's here with the other administrative offices on campus.
yes, yes. So family and consumer sciences were up here, and we are the one surviving major out of that. And so our area is still up here because of our foods lab. So we will be moving, hopefully, in the next couple of years to Martindale with the rest of our people. But right now, this is where we are located. So third floor. I always say, come up and see what we're about. Come talk to us. We're here. And we'd be happy to show you around. We can show you hopefully what's coming. Our new lab space we're really excited about, and the opportunities that will come with that.
Thank
Excellent. All
you.
right. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today. And definitely check out the Foods and Nutrition and Dietetics program at Northwest if you're interested. And we'll have some contact information on the screen for you as well. And that will do it for another episode of Behind the Bearcat. And we'll talk to you next time. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, be sure to give us a thumbs up below. That helps out. Also, if you've not done so yet, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Also, we'd love to connect with you on social media. You can find Behind the Bearcat on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Plus, the audio podcast comes out on Fridays on all the major podcast platforms. Thanks again for watching Behind the Bearcat, and as always, we'll talk to you next time.